All right, let's shift gears, guys. I'm excited about talking about this. Christian Watson, guys. Man, oh man. He is I want to choose my words kind of carefully here, Tim, but the numbers are suggesting he's better than he was before he got hurt. And I'll explain why here in a second. Let's jump into a little bit of tape. We'll be highlighting this on Chalk Talk in great detail tomorrow. I'll show you what the exact play is. This is Christian Watson picking up right where he left off in 2024, where he finished second in yards per reception. Guys, he was only behind Alec Pierce at 21.4 yards per reception last year. 2 games in, albeit it's only 2 games, right, into 2025. Guys, he's averaging 23.8 yards per catch right now. And this is that play we were talking about, Tim. This right here is a doozy. Love back to pass, pressure in his lap, steps up in the pocket, and I'm talking about puts it right on his face mask.
You talk about dropping it in the bucket, man. You got help coming over the top.
Look at this.
Look at that ball.
And, I know there's some fans that think, man, why didn't he put it out here so he can lead in his stride? If he overthrows him,
it's a pick.
I mean, I don't necessarily know if it's a pick, but it's just if he overthrows him, how many times have we heard that? Oh, there's another overthrow. There's another overthrow. I love that if anything, he's putting more air under it, Tim, rather than playing it safe. It kind of like with the Matthew Golden throw. You play that a little bit safer, right? It's a smaller receiver. And if Golden makes that diving catch, boy, oh boy, that's awesome. But with Christian, I think a little more air under it because he's going to do this, man. I mean, this catch, I'm going to go quarter speed. Just the way he hauls this thing in, man. Look at him. Look how comfortable he looks as he goes in the air into the ground, sacrificing his body completely. Bang.
And late as hell hands, too. Look at the hands.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it, man.
Right up, just in time to grab that football. I love it. The only reason I said maybe it's a pick is with that help coming over. If he leads him a couple yards to the boundary, maybe that DB runs underneath it. But
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Just great job by Scoot, though, knowing his body in space, knowing how to stutter step there at the end and kind of, leave yourself open and make that grab. If he mistimes that even by a half a second, we got disaster. It doesn't matter what kind of ball Jordan throws him, right?
Aaron, shoot. It looks like Aaron to me. Jordan,
right?
Oh, man. I mean, just looks so
that's an Aaron Rodgers throw because what does he see there? He sees the nameplate on the back of the DB's jersey. I'm letting that thing fly, right?
Hook it up. No doubt, man. So, again, just an awesome play. And guys, that's the numbers, right? I'm going to jump into the next-gen stats here real quick with Christian Watson and give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about here as well. We'll try to get it zoomed in. If you guys can't see it, I will read it off to where you know what we're talking about here. So when you go to yards per reception, notice the qualified receivers only is not checked. And it's because qualified receiver is going to remove Christian Watson from this because he's only got 8 targets, right? 8 targets. So he's ran 53 routes, 8 targets. His average is 23.8 yards per target. Now you'll notice Drake Young it doesn't show the team there. Yeah, it won't give me. It's just got the color code. So Drake Young has got 24 yards per reception. Gunnar Olszewski, same thing, but you'll notice 5 routes, 9 routes, right? Only 1 target, 2 targets. Christian Watson's been targeted 8 times. So if you were to sort it by like 5 targets, Christian Watson all of a sudden jumps to number 3 on this list, right? Where Tutu Atwell has got 9 targets. He's averaging 41 yards a catch. He's been a big play threat there. And then Cody White, only 2 targets at 60 yards per catch, which is a wild statistic. So again, with Christian Watson, man, he's already starting off faster this year, 23.8 yards per reception. That number will probably go down, but boy, if it goes up 10, we got something special with Christian Watson. And his PFF grade is already exceeding the pace that he's had the last 3 years as well. So again, that's why we look at the PFF grade. We look at the next gen stats. We just showed you the tape. Christian Watson looks like he is hungry as ever, dude. I'm so excited about it. His catch rate over expected, plus 27% there as well. So if we were to sort it by that, of course, it's going to crap out on us. That's the way that works, right, Tim? Let's see if we can refresh.
I agree with you, though. Scoot's back like he never left, right? And I'd be willing to bet maybe those numbers do come up, and he continues to build on this because, losing Tuck Norris, man, he's going to be, Scoot's going to be a focal point. If he already isn't in this offense, which clearly he is, he's really going to be a focal point. Now, I'm not saying, force the ball to him, all this kind of stuff, but That's our guy. That's our field stretcher. I fully expect him to continue to build on these numbers, and they probably will go up as we progress throughout the season.
Yeah. And Christian Watson, again, his catch rate over expected plus 27%. That's ninth best in the league. But notice the guys above him, 1 target, 2 targets, 2 targets, 1 target, 3 target, 2 target, 1 target, 1 target. What that means is if you were to set it to 5 targets minimum, right, then he would have the best catch rate over expected of any wide receiver in the league right now. Also, Tim, this is what we just talked about. Look at Malik Heath, 25.8%. He's 13th on this list. And once again, if you sorted it by 5 targets, a minimum of 5 targets, Malik Heath would only be behind DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Watson if you sorted it by 5 targets.
That's another name to look at too, right? Until we get, I heard Wicks might be back soon. Hopefully that's good news for us. Bird should be back soon. But in the meantime, in between time, man, Malik Heath might get a little bit more targets in the pass game, I think. He's more than just an absolute dog in the run blocking scheme and, pass pro and things like that. But we know Malik Heath is definitely a contested catch king for sure. Right. Really good hands. And I agree with your assessment. I think he's highly underrated as a receiver in the NFL. So hopefully we see a little bit more of him going forward.
His yak over expected too, Tim, is a plus 10. Plus 10 is his yak over expected for Malik Heath. His average yards per target is 9.2. Christian Watson's 22.5. Guys, that means when he is targeted, he's averaging 20. You're averaging getting 22.5 yards per target. That's just absolutely insane. I'm pretty sure that's what that is. Yeah, average yards per target. There you go. So let's sort it now by just team. Let's hop in here and look at the Packers as a team. All right. So if we sort by catch rate over expected, Christian Watson all of a sudden leading the team at 27%, yep. Malik Heath 25.8%, Matthew Golden plus 10.3%. Again, guys, catch rate over expected is higher. Romeo Doubs is at a plus 7.8. Matthew Golden is a plus 10.3. He just needs more opportunities is all it is. Right.
It's coming, right? It's coming for MG. Just be patient. It's coming.
And when you sort by receiving EPA, Matthew Golden leads the Packers at plus 17.5. Romeo Doubs is second at 13.1. Malik Heath 7.5. And then you have Christian Watson at a plus 5.3. Jaden Reed, obviously minimal snaps there. So again, man, what you've got with Matthew Golden is a guy that, in my opinion, the only thing he's lacking is the targets. When you go catch percentage, right, his catch rate, Malik Heath still at 100%. Savion Williams, I know he had the fumble, but he's 100% catch rate right now. Matthew Golden, 79.3%. Again, if you're buying into that fear porn of this guy, oh my God, Matthew Golden's a bust, this and that, it's because he's not getting the targets, guys. That's essentially what it comes down to. Like, look at his targets. He's played he's run 177 routes. He's only gotten 29 targets, and he's made 23 catches. He's caught 23 of his 29 targets for 262 yards, right? So if you were to
on my back, dude.
Remember what I said about Romeo Doubs. Romeo Doubs is your X. They're moving Romeo around a little bit more. When they move Romeo around, guess who becomes the X? It's Matthew Golden. If you gave Matthew Golden the same amount of targets as Romeo Doubs right now, let's say we would essentially
Rome's at like 23%.
What's that?
Rome's at like 23% targets.
Of the targets of the team?
Of his routes. So like of the 225, he's 23%, those 52.
Okay, gotcha. So if you were to double Matthew Golden's targets, which would put you in about the range of Romeo Doubs has 441 yards receiving. If you double Matthew Golden's numbers, he's going to be over 500 yards receiving. Let's just be a little bit conservative, 510, 520 yards. So we're all looking at Romeo Doubs. Romeo's a great player, right? I think we would all agree. So he's got 4 touchdowns, 441 yards receiving. If Matthew Golden got the same amount of targets as Romeo Doubs, his numbers would be better than Romeo Doubs. That's not to put Romeo down. People are going to try to take it as that. That's not the case. I'm simply saying the people who are pretending like Matthew Golden's a bust, guys, he's not getting the targets that Romeo's getting. The same people that think he's a bust thinks Romeo's a great receiver. It's like, I'm not saying Romeo isn't a great receiver, although I wouldn't say Romeo's a great receiver. I would say he's a very good receiver. That's my opinion.
I just caught the ball.
That's what he does. So, again, we got to pump the brakes on this whole Matthew Golden. When's he going to break out? When's he not? And people are like, well, this team, look at how they utilize their rookie receiver. That's cool. Every team's different, man. Every team's different with how they distribute the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Emilio, what's your take on this, man? We were kind of it's geared around Christian Watson. I feel like he's off to a faster start, man. This guy, 23.8 yards per reception, bro. Last year he was 21.
Yeah, I heard you talking about it, and when you said that, you didn't want to say it, but maybe he's coming back a little bit better than before the injury. Like I said, I lost 10, 15 pounds after the torn ACL, and I ran faster than I ever had before. So I'll take it, whatever it was. If it was the muscle loss in my other, in my torn leg, whatever. But, I'm not worried about that with Christian. And I think there's a possibility, right? If you get past that head issue of, is it okay? Is it okay? Does it feel safe? To, dude, I'm crushing it right now. Like this, we're cooking. I'm back to playing ball like I have been since I was 6. So, and once you get into that headspace and he gets into a rhythm, it's over. It was DJ was asking Coach Harbaugh when they were, was talking Chargers with him. He goes, what's it like with the run game? Like, you get your quarterbacks into a rhythm and stuff like that. Is there anything you can do with that, with the run game? He goes, all of sports is about a rhythm, right? He goes, it doesn't matter what sport you're playing, what you're doing. I mean, you could be even dance, it's whatever. It's you got to have a little bit of rhythm. You got to have a feel. You've heard Josh talk about it. And it's not just for the quarterback, right? That's for the O-lineman getting into a rhythm, going downhill, not always back on their heels. That's for, the running back. And so it's just something that maybe Matt needs to feel out a little bit better, or that we just need to hammer out before, January comes around. We need to figure out what the rhythm of this team is, and kind of take it that way.
Yeah. And I think most of that is, there's all these moving parts, right? Your offensive line has been shuffled all year long. So you can't really get that, right? You don't have the same 5 out there, right? Another thing too is, like, now you're dealing with Tucker Kraft going down. So now we got to get acclimated with Luke Musgrave as the top tight end. Jaden Reed was obviously the receiver that Jordan Love's had the most success with. He goes down with an injury. Christian Watson wasn't back. Now all of a sudden you're leaning on Romeo and Matthew Golden, the first round pick. So you really haven't had an opportunity to find that rhythm, right, Amelia? And what's crazy is we all agree they're not completely in sync. They're not completely in rhythm. But look at their offensive ranking anyway. Scoring, they're 10th in the league. Mm-hmm. Passing, they're 3rd in yards per pass attempt. Rushing, they're 23rd. That's what needs the help. There were people talking about, we need cornerbacks. Why don't we trade for a corner? Why don't we go get I love the Asante Samuel Jr. signing if they do that, because that's a free agent.
Yeah.
You give them no picks, right? And in my opinion, you don't need corners that bad. Look at the defensive side of things, guys. We're 8th in scoring defense, number 1 in passing defense, yards per pass attempt, and 9th in rushing. So I don't feel like you need a corner. If anything, go get a tier 1 position in a D tackle. You don't need another edge. I think we would all agree there. But go get you a D tackle is the only person I would really want. Other than that, I was kind of coming into the trade deadline going, damn it, I'm not seeing many offensive linemen available. And that's what I think we need,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what I'm going to say, Clay? We're missing my boy, Mr. Glover, man. Could you imagine? But just hear me out on this real quick. Could you imagine the playing time that Glover would have got this year?
Oh my God!
And just actual, like, legit good reps in season, not in a playoff game against Jalen Carter, right? So and it really just would have benefited the man. But yeah, it's it was a big loss at the beginning of the season. You've been chasing that rabbit ever since.
Yeah, definitely. Tim, you got anything you want to add to this, man? What we're specifically talking about here with the rank? I wanted to keep it around offense. We're going to talk defense in a minute. I know you'll get excited about that, but what do you think about what we got here in terms of the offensive rankings? Because again, the running game has just not got going yet, right? And what's crazy is you got it going this last game, and that helps those numbers, obviously, where you were averaging over 6 yards a carry at a point in the game. I think it fell down to 5 yards a carry. So that's getting a little bit better from your season average of whatever it is, 3.8 or whatever it was coming into the game.
I think a lot of it stems from the I don't want to say issues, but the issue we have with musical chairs on the offensive line. I think it explains why it's been difficult to run the football at times. I don't put that on Josh Jacobs or Emmanuel Wilson. I think, we know this whole line can pass block and pass pro. But when it comes to, putting somebody in the dirt and, run blocking, it can be a little bit touch and go sometimes. So I think, if we get some continuity on that O-line, we get some of these guys back from injury. To Emilio's point, yeah, we always joke about it. It would be nice to have Travis Glover right now because I believe he would have a ton of snaps at this point in the offense. And then, going back to your point about Scoot too, like being out of the fold for so long, Emilio, you probably can speak to this when you miss time with that injury, your anxiety and excitement to be back on the field really tells you when you get out there. And big props to the Packers. He was, Scoot was on a little bit of a snap count against Pittsburgh, but I think that's over with now. I think it's clear to everyone that's watching tape on him that he's 100%, or this is what 100% looks like for Christian Watson, because he's been chomping at the bit to get back on this football field. There's some argument that we maybe have brought him back a little sooner than we did. But clearly he's in the fold now, and I think you got to just cut him loose, man. He's balls to the wall time. Let's go.
Emilio, did you see that picture of Christian when he stood up and screamed and flexed, bro? Listen, I'm watching the tape, bro. I'm watching the tape, breaking the tape down and going, is that 11 or 12? Is that 11 or 12? That's 12. No, that's Christian Watson. Holy cow. Dude, he looks like his arms had bulked up big time.
I mean, he looks like you after a 40 set. You know what I mean? You get up there. Come on, Mandy.
For those of you who wondering what a 40 set is, Emilio, when we went to Green Bay, he found out that, and Mandy hates this thing. I travel everywhere with a push-up pad. All right. And it's got the color code where you can do the shoulders, you can do the chest, you can do the tries, all that. Right. Emilio walked in the bedroom and I was back. He was like, what the hell is that? I'm like, it's a push-up pad. He was like looking at him like, I can get me one of these. Emilio, do you got one now?
Oh yeah, I got one. I hadn't even had my coffee yet, but I seen him just down on the carpet. I was like, man, this is gonna be a bad start to the trip. And he's over here just slamming out 40.
See, Emilio he snuck away from the pod that night when we did the live draft. And he went off to the draft and got a little soused. Your boy was over there doing push-ups in between picks. You know what I'm saying? So, listen, when you're my age, you got to do something to fight back. Anyway, go ahead, Emilio.
All I was going to say, just to the offensive point, was our only two losses came from us putting up a 10 spot and a 13 spot. Every other time we've had a win or a tie, with the losses coming by 6 points in total. So it's really not the end of the world. I don't know how much, better you want. I can only go 16-0 in college football so many times before you take an L, right, Clay? It's like you're going to take a loss, man. It's going to happen. So, yeah, it was to two rough teams maybe. Right. But, again, the Browns had the best defense in the league, still kind of do at the point we were playing them. And then, Panthers put up a fight. They took it to Dallas. We tied Dallas. All right. Is that something to look at in correlation? Maybe, but I don't think it's as, in-depth as that. I think that you got to say, hey, nobody woke up for the 12 o'clock. We fell back, whatever it was, and move on, man. If you don't want to talk about Halloween, don't talk about the time change. You had a bad day at the office. So
I don't give a shit if it's Halloween.
Coach.
I love it. I was just looking at some of these here real quick. Since you brought that up, in 1996, the Packers lost to the Minnesota Vikings on the road 30-21. Okay. Again, this is the world champion Green Bay Packers, right? Week 11, they lost on the road to the Kansas City Chiefs 27-20. Not a bad loss there, right? Then they lost the very next game. So they lost 2 in a row, weeks 11 and 12. At the Dallas Cowboys, they lost that game 21-6 that year. So even Super Bowl teams drop games like this.
You're telling me Super Bowl team loses games back to back, Clay? That's crazy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And by 2 scores, So Coach Lynn said he's 225 plus, talking about Christian Watson. And somebody mentioned in the chat, I had it marked. I apologize. I lost it. Thank y'all for bringing it up. Christian Watson's dad actually quote tweeted this about the rankings and said, but according to the public sentiment, the passing game is a problem with the upside down.
Right. I love Papa Scoop, man. Always calling it like he sees it, man. Love it.
And then we had people jump in the comments go, oh, what metric are you using?
Shut up.
If you have to ask what metric, if listen to everybody hear my voice. If you're using yards per game as a metric, don't try to convince me that's better than yards per play, okay? Because yards per play is it's fine-tuning. When you drop back to pass, put everything else aside in the passing game. When you drop back to pass, how many yards are you getting on average when you try to throw the football, when you run the ball, when you hand that ball off to a ball carrier, how many yards are you averaging getting? All right. When you go to yards per game, you could have a team have 130 yards rushing, right? And another team have 110. And if you're going off yards per game, you go, oh, well, the 110 or the 130 is better than the 110. But then when you dive into the numbers, you go, holy cow, they ran the ball 32 times. This team ran it 12. Who was more effective at running the football? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Anyway.
That's why I like what Jen Wright says in the chat. My eyes are the metric. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know what I'm seeing with my own eyes.
All right. So again, I'm not saying that the Packers offense is perfect. I'm not saying they can't improve. They got a lot they need to improve on, mainly the running game. But this idea that Matt LaFleur needs to be fired, he's a horrible play caller, and this offense sucks. I don't know what you're watching. I don't know what metrics you're looking at. I just can't get on board with that. Other than it's emotional, and if that's the case, cool. I'm not diving into people's tweets and going, what a stupid take. You don't see me do that. You know why? I've got a rule. If someone doesn't ask my opinion about their opinion, I'm not giving my opinion on it because they didn't ask me. I'm not knocking on their door and going, hey, that's a stupid take, right? Not going to do it. But if people jump in my mentions, I'm going to meet you at the door and go, hey, here's the actual facts. You guys know I'm going to tell you if I see something is bad. What have I been saying about the running game? Boys, running game sucking. We got to get that going. We got to get that going, right? Said it, Carolina would be the week to do that. And we got it going. And there were people on Twitter saying we need to pass the ball more. We need to pass the ball more. Just threw an interception into quadruple coverage. We need to throw the ball more. Well, no, it's a scheme. We need to stop throwing screens. No, we need to stop throwing deep. What the hell do you want him to do? We have both. He was throwing it behind the line. He was throwing it. I could show you 2 or 3 plays on Chalk Talk where he hits Romeo Dobbs. What was it? A 30-yarder. I think that was a dig route, if I remember correctly. He hits Christian Watson on a deep post in a dagger concept, or a strike concept, rather, right? He hit Romeo Dobbs again on another dig, and all anybody wants to focus on is just the screen passes that didn't work. Although they weren't complaining about the screen passes last week when Savion Williams was scoring a touchdown in Pittsburgh, right? So it's just I get frustrated because at times screens don't work. They didn't work on Sunday. They worked the week before. So now all of a sudden it just Ryan does a great job of this. Ryan Schlipp does an excellent job of this on his podcast. Yeah. It's like people complain when we throw it deep into coverage. People complain when we throw it shallow on screens. People complain when we just lean on the run. People complain when we don't run a run. I'm one of those guys, right? When we don't run the ball.
Moral of the story, people complain.
There you go. That's it. Myself included. But again, rooted in what does the tape show? What does the advanced metrics show? What do the basic statistics show? What's the PFF grade show? Right? Like everything. Throw it all into one pot and come up with a realistic expectation. So a couple of chats here. 2-0 for this says Glover is a musician. He strums the strings of Emilio's heart. Is that true?
I don't know, but we miss him.
You like to keep it mysterious, right? So, Fishy Thing says, is Wilkins still available? Talking about Christian Wilkins. I personally don't want Christian Wilkins, Fishy Things. And someone else said it here too. Actually, right here. J. Cole said, I would not want to be in the locker room with Wilkins. Wilkins was running around he was doing inappropriate things to his teammates. We'll just leave it at that. To the point where the team was like, you got to get this freak out of here. Get this weirdo out of here. If you guys may or may not have seen the Charles Haley tweet, somebody tweeted out, brung up what Charles Haley was doing in the locker room when he was with the 49ers. He was basically trying to get traded, but that type of stuff, I don't want that type of player in my locker room personally. DJ
Clay, what would you have done about Quinnen Williams? Would you have given up a first and a second for –
Emilio, it's tough, man. I'm going to get raked over the coals. You're going to make me answer this, and I was trying to avoid it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll answer it.
It's all good. Listen, we don't have a first rounder this year. We don't have a first rounder next year. The easy out here is, well, we didn't have enough draft capital to get it. I agree with Dallas's move. I think that's a good move. I really do. What I disagree with is why the hell didn't you do that when you have Micah Parsons? Because now you're just kind of back to when you have Micah, right? You got one solid defensive lineman and maybe Fowler a step up. He stepped up. He showed some flashes last night, right? Dante Fowler. I'm not holding my breath on that. But to answer your question, if the Jets would have taken a 2028 first-round pick and our second-round pick this year, I would have given that up.
But they also swung a Mozzie Smith, which was a first-round pick that the Cowboys had So Cowboys basically, I remember listening to the pod, they basically gave up on Mozzie Smith. So they turned Mozzie Smith in with a first and a second. I mean, that's
so that would be kind of the equivalent to us giving them Devontae Wyatt with a first and a second, right? That's how old is Quentin Williams?
27.
27. That makes it a lot more. That's more difficult for me.
Because when I first saw 1 and 2, I was like, ooh, I don't know, man. We had talked about it a few times, looking at, getting another tackle and stuff like that. But when I saw that they moved Mozzie, I mean, move on from the fact that the Cowboys were basically done with the guy. He was still a first-round draft pick. That holds some sort of value in that trade. And the Jets thought it was enough. They're stacking up picks. And, who's, what's the pick the Cowboys are using? Like, also, the Jets are getting the 2 firsts from the Colts. At this point, they're going to be late first. I mean, it's
right.
It's a late first this year, pushing a second-round pick. So how much value are you actually getting out of those things? And I didn't know if they used ours or theirs.
I think it was confirmed in a later tweet by Ian Rappaport that it is theirs. So it's going to be the higher first-round pick.
Okay.
Sure. So, yeah, I think I understood that correctly. You guys let me know in the comments if I got that wrong. But yeah, it's if the question is give up your 2027 first-round pick, your 2026 second-round pick, and Devontae Wyatt for Quentin Williams, and him being 27 years old, I don't think I could do that.
And Colby and Carl aren't going to be enough, right? At that point, they'd be asking for LVN or they'd be asking for Enigbare or something, and maybe we could talk about it, but I still don't think that we can move on from those sort of head guys. I think we need to keep rotating everybody we have been.
If he was 24 or 25, different story, right? Because you're going to have him for the next, 6 to 8 years. But the thought of him hitting the wall 2 years from you giving all that stuff up, that kind of shortens that 3-year Super Bowl window to a 2-year window. Although some people believe it's a 5-year window. I hope that's the case. Our buddy DJ Schultz in the house says Wilkins, Asante, and Gerald Everett would probably cost about $10 million for the rest of the season. All 3 of those players, I would be okay with bringing on board, with the exception of Wilkins for the reasons I just said. Just a football player, Wilkins, heck yeah, he's a hell of a player. So DJ, you're spot on with him on the football field for the most part of his career, but just the off the field stuff kind of turns me off. But boy, if you told me go out and get Asante Samuel Jr. and Gerald Everett in free agency, I like Gerald Everett as he tied in. I think I would be okay with that. But he is, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I think if you had to put him closer to Tucker Kraft or Luke Musgrave, I imagine he would be closer to Musgrave than Kraft, but I could be wrong there. Maybe Everett's running through people's faces too, because that's definitely Tucker's superpower there. So what do y'all think about that? Would y'all be okay with those 3 signings? And am I being weird about Christian Wilkins? Maybe y'all disagree with that. I don't know. It just seemed like you don't want to bring that in the locker room, me personally.
No, I agree with that point, the off the field stuff, but we do know, what we do here in Titletown, right? Guys come here and it's all ball, right? So
that's true.
Maybe coming to a place like Green Bay would, the off the field stuff would be less of an issue. But I feel the same way you do too with Everett. I think he's more Musgrave than he is Tucker Kraft, and we're trying to replace an irreplaceable guy right now. So I don't know. It wouldn't hurt,
Yeah. Right.
Asante Samuel Jr. though, spinal fusion, that's no joke, man. Like you've got a guy that had his spine fused together. So I could see there being a little hesitancy, with someone like him. Also the fact that I know Asante Samuel's a versatile corner, but he's mostly a slot guy, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think we need slot guys. I think we need boundary guys.
I was thinking he was an outside guy, but I could be wrong there. I haven't done extensive research on him. I did a little article earlier today, and it's probably – I can't remember if that image showed where he was taking snaps at. But in terms of the spinal fusion, he's been cleared by 2 doctors. It's scary because, you don't want that blood on your hands if somebody gets paralyzed. But at the same time, he wants to play football. I can understand, but – obviously, he was in-house. I think they said it was last week, I believe, if I remember correctly. So they're not going to sign him if there are any worries about that. But also the guaranteed money it's cold business, right? So make sure you limit the guaranteed money. And if you're the highest bidder, then if God forbid something happened and he re-injures it, then you're off the hook with minimal cap damage. It's just such a tough sport, man. It is. I feel you probably can hear it in my voice. I'm uncomfortable talking about that stuff because you're talking about possible possibly paralyzing someone. So
Looks like he played in 24. He played out wide. Basically, he had one slot snap, and then basically he's an outside corner. Had about 20 some slot snaps in 23. So looks like basically outside.
mostly outside.
Nice. Okay, that's good then. That changes my opinion a little
Right.
bit.
I'm with you, Tim. We don't need no